Today's episode is sponsored by Orphaned, whose new album, Power and Sacrifice, is out now on Third House label out of Baltimore. Orphaned is Ted Bazan, Eddie Marflack, and Ray Conde. The album was mixed and mastered by John Wees of Sad Physics, who you may know from working on Sissy Spacek and Man is the Bastard, and it was recorded by Ryan Crawford at Flagstone Audio. This is their second release and full-length concept album. The album explores a harrowing narrative of dragging corrupt cops and abusive religious leaders through the levels of hell. As the concept progresses, each track intensifies both in theme and tempo, propelling listeners deeper into an endless void of pain and retribution. Obliterating sonic walls of distortion, noise, and bass loops connect the songs on the album, providing the listener with an unforgettable journey. Listen now on Bandcamp or pick up a physical copy from Third House label at thirdhouse.limitedrun.com. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. But I'd like to remind you that I couldn't do this without your support over at patreon.com/humanmachine. You can go over there to sign up and read zines, get music sneak peeks, and just show some love for the show. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Essays of Why by Such Sightings, featuring my new pal Nick Camarillo on vocals and guitar. The song comes from their new EP, which you can find on Bandcamp now.
Last summer, I went to a show in Chicago with Versus Self and Norfair, and it was like, I went there, and I was in the crowd, and I just, especially like when Norfair came on, I was like, wow, like they had really good energy, and yeah, just, you kind of explained it, like the feeling of just being in the crowd doesn't really feel like enough.
Mm-hmm. Were you already like playing guitar like on your own, or?
Very little. Like, I had just graduated high school, and I was only playing for like a year, and it was very on and off. Like, as of lately, I've been playing like every day for the past year, but the year before that was like very, very little. But that definitely pushed me forward into that,
Mm-hmm. How did you hear about that show?
So I was following Versus Self. I didn't really know too much about Norfair. Numirs was also there, and I was following them. And this was like my first like actual like screamo show I went to, and I thought it was like really, like I had to be there,
Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering. I was just thinking to myself. I wonder if that was like the tour that I did the tour flyer for. But no, because that was with Punxsutawney, or like, I'm not sure how you say that, but that band, not Numbers, or but yeah, yeah. That's what. Were you already like? You said you were already like dialed into like Versus Self, but were you listening to like screamo as a whole at that point, or was this like sort of an eye opening as far as that goes for you as well.
So like it was kind of at the time I knew who New Mirrors and Versus Self were. Catalyst was also a very big influence for me before that. Like I was really into Catalyst at the time. Um, but like it goes as far back, like I would say that's as far back as it goes with like screamo. But like just as far as like alternative music, like I used to listen to like Veil of Maya and stuff like that back in like middle school. But like as like for a little bit like lighter stuff like that, yeah, that's kind of as far back as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like senior year of high school.
What was it that like? So you listen to like Veil of Maya, you're listening to stuff like that. You pick up a guitar, you're like, this is cool, but it's not really, motivating you to that degree. Was there something about like, you said like, yeah, being in the crowd just didn't feel like it was going to be enough anymore. Was it something about the specific sounds? Was it about the people that were doing it? Was it all of these things?
Yeah, it was. I feel like a lot of it is like emotion and like evoking that emotion onto people and being like it being an outlet for me to
Mm-hmm.
like let out that emotion because like I seen how people felt and were reacting in the crowd and I seen like the way the people making the music felt and like just the way the music is you can really feel it
Mm-hmm.
from their point of view
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was like a great like an awesome thing like not every genre has something like that I feel like but
Yeah.
I think screamo is like really good at that like that's what it's all about in my opinion is emotion
Yeah.
you know
Because I'm assuming this wasn't like the first show you've ever been to. Maybe just the first show like that. Like, like, other than the fact that you're like standing right in front of the band or whatever, what other shows had you been to where it's just like, it's such a different, like, vibe that, like, like, what was your first show you ever went to?
so honestly that was like my first actual show
Oh,
like before
okay.
that I'd been to like like mini concerts like at like festivals and stuff and I wasn't really feeling it
Yeah,
but like this was
that's,
the first show I went to where
yeah.
it was like it was music I like.
Uh huh. Like you said, you went to like fests or whatever. Do you mean like Warp Tour kind of thing? Like I don't even
Not even
know.
that
Yeah,
like uh
like State
I'm
Fair.
talking like state
Oh,
yeah
okay,
like state fair and there's
okay,
some old like Pearl Jam cover band or whatever on stage.
oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. That's not necessarily. Um, that's not necessarily. It's like, huh? I don't know how to put this. Like, not saying that like anybody who plays a Pearl Jam cover isn't just as talented at their instruments or whatever as the people in Pearl Jam. I mean, that's a case by case thing
Yeah.
for sure. But like, but it's still a bit like these are the people that like aren't doing the creating. They're, it still puts like the creators of the music in another like sort of not class but just on another level, like, oh, these are the people that they can play Pearl Jam's music but they didn't make this music. So it's like listening to the radio still in a way. I don't.
Yeah, you don't really hear anything too new, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and it's not. I don't know. I mean, we we do a cover thing on my label every year, so like for Halloween, so it's like I always love a good cover. Like I've done my share of you know them that I think are good, and I've also done my share that I am not. I'm less than pleased with. But like there's something, yeah, I mean, when the band is singing their own songs and they're pouring it all out for you like right in front of you, it's something else for sure. So like from right there you're kind of just like, do you just start digging into like the sort of what we know as like the DIY screamo scene, like even more from there? You say, oh, wait, I gotta hear like more bands like Norfair or
Yeah, so it started like it really just started with like Spotify and stuff like that and just digging into like related bands. But then I kind of realized like so in Northwest Indiana there's like not really a huge, at least at the time, like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, there wasn't like a huge like screamo scene. There's a metal scene and I still go to those shows sometimes, but that's kind of where I started that winter was like I want to start going to these shows and getting to know the people in my area who are talented like that. Even if it's not screamo, like they're still really good at instruments. And like I didn't at the time I didn't really have friends who were like into making music, let alone like friends at all. But like friends who knew how to like produce music and play music and stuff like that. So I started like kind of like trying to introduce myself into that. And then I also had he's my coworker, but also he's now our bass player for Such Sightings. He's kind of helped me start it all. Um, he started working at my job, and then he started kind of inviting me to shows, and that's kind of where it started taking off even more. Was like digging into meeting more like new people and talking, and then
mm-hmm.
that's kind of like from that point on, I we started this other band that was his other friend's idea, and it was like death metal, and I think it was really cool. That was the first band I was ever in, but then things just like scheduling with practices and stuff didn't really work out. So then me and his name's Kenny, me and Kenny, we just kept practicing together anyway, and I told him like, "Yo, I got this idea, but it's screamo," and I was like, at the time, Kenny didn't really listen to screamo like that. I had to like show him like who to listen to, like the inspirations and stuff for what I wanted to go for. And that's kind of that what branched it off right there.
Mm-hmm. You said Northwest Indiana. Where do you live?
So I live in East Chicago, all the way up north, like
Oh,
by
okay.
Lake Michigan.
Oh, okay.
But I grew up in Hammond, like a little bit further south, maybe like 5, 10 minutes south.
Yeah, I think that's where my friend. I think that's where my friend Steph was from. Um, who they're the bass player in Lord Snow, but I'm not
Really?
100%. But yeah, they're definitely from that area. But I think it was Hammond specifically. If I'm not like if I'm not misremembering, but yeah, it's wild. Every once in a while, there is just like a cool spot or something like in that area, for a little bit, and and then you don't hear about anything for a while. But yeah, so you were just like at first you were just like playing, like you're just like, yeah, hell yeah, like let's get together with some people and play some loud music, and then eventually it's like circumstances and everything else sort of take you this other way. How did you find the other couple folks that would round out the band?
So, after the other two band members, besides me and Kenny, were kind of like they couldn't show up to practice because of work and stuff, it was like for a bit, it was just me and Kenny just sitting there noodling basically because I'm telling him like I want to start this band called Such Sightings. Like that name just stuck with me ever since I thought of it like a little bit before. And then eventually this there was this one kid in my guitar class senior year who he was in a band called Pulp Friction, and like I went to school with him. I wasn't like too close to him. I've talked to him a couple of times, but we still followed each other on Instagram, and I knew that he had just recently moved back to Indiana from California because he was in a band in California called Just Let Me Go. And I was like, you know how to play drums, like, right? Like I texted him like, yo, we need a drummer. Actually, Kenny was playing drums at first, and I told this other kid his name's Nate. He's our current drummer now, but he started off as a bassist. And I was like, "Yo, we need a bass player. Do you want to come jam with us for a bit and like, start working on something?" And he was like, "Yeah, hell yeah," because he just kept posting on Instagram like, "Oh, like who wants to do this? Who wants to do that?" Like he's all about music. And then eventually we ended up jamming with him, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but he switched from bass to drums because I think Kenny was just he wanted to play bass, and I think that it just worked out perfectly. And then our newest member, who has been in the band for like a month now, his name's Jack, and he was the guitarist for Antler, and he has like seven other side projects. But I decided to just hit him up recently, and because I knew he was pretty good, and he had like that same vision. So I texted him on Instagram, and I was like, "Yo, like, do you want to come do like lead parts for us and help us write some music?" And then he's been helping us like also like mix our music and stuff because he has like this whole crazy setup going on, better than anything we got at home. So
Mm-hmm.
he's been kind of helping us with that. It's just kind of scheduling because he lives far away, but it's all through Instagram mainly.
Yeah. Did Jack play on the EP that y'all just released?
No, he that was
Okay.
all recorded before we texted him,
I was gonna
but he
say,
mixed it for us.
yeah, that'd be like a real fast turnaround to learn some songs and start recording. Because you said it had
Yeah.
only been a month. Um, yeah. So you did record the demo yourself.
Yeah, we recorded it all of ourselves, and then we mixed it like three times, and we just couldn't get a good mix that we liked. So um he told us like if you guys ever need help mixing, I can do that too. So we just said, you know what, like to hell with it. We just sent him the files, and we were listening to the stuff with Antler that he mixed, and it didn't sound too bad. And we listened to some of his side projects, and I was like, yeah, I want it to sound like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him a couple of tries. There was like certain things here and there. Like the first time we couldn't hear the bass, and then like after that, we just said sure, like because it's a demo, so
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of let some things slide. Like there's for a certain part in the song, you can hear us just like messing around with the mic and stuff, but it's just a demo. We thought it'd be kind of funny to just leave it in there anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just mixed it for us, and then he's been kind of helping us with these new songs. And also like this last show we did in Lafayette this past week, for the first couple of songs, we let him do the guitar for the first two songs because they're only recorded with one guitar anyway. So I was on just vocals for that, and that was super fun. So we're
Yeah.
considering maybe keeping it that way for a few songs.
Yeah. I've enjoyed that in the past as well. Did you play at what's it called? The Nest?
Yeah, it was like some frat house and some garage, but it was booked by the
Those
Nest.
people? Yeah, yeah. I met some of them at our show here on the 20th, and they were real nice. They said, "Oh, do you like? Would you mind if we hit you up for a show?" And I'm like, "Of course not." Um, but yeah, I only just became aware about like all the shows on you know, I live I live like out in the country basically, but I live like not that far from Purdue. But I don't know. It's just it's it 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 got really weird like at a certain point with Purdue. They I don't know. I I'd have to really get into this with them and how they deal with this or whatever, but and maybe this is not even a thing anymore, but there was a group a while back that I don't know, they were called the Friends of Purdue, and they went around and they just like tore down flyers and stuff. Like you'd put flyers all over campus, and they went around and they just like tore them down and like, you know,
Really?
they were
I
like
haven't heard about that.
keep Purdue clean, you know, and all this stuff. And so at a certain point, especially like, you know, with social media, it was like, well, we can go and try to put these flyers around and they'll just get torn down. And like, you know, and I personally had been actually just run off of like certain parts of campuses by people for flyering, where it's like, what else are these huge bulletin boards for? But I don't know. It's really cool that they've got something going over there, because like that was always a big thing back when I was doing a lot of shows in Lafayette, is that it was really hard to get students to come into like actual Lafayette to shows. So like maybe a lot of them didn't even have like a way over, you know. But yeah. So it was a good time then.
Oh, it was awesome. I would say it was like our best show yet.
That is awesome.
Yeah, the Nest is really good people. Like, I think they're probably one of my favorite bookings. Um, this is our second show with them, but this was also our first like house show slash like garage show because it was in a garage. But it was really nice. Like probably the best crowd we've ever had. Like people were getting thrown on the floor. You know, we did a wall of death, which was wild. That was probably my favorite part.
That's awesome. It's good to hear about like awesome stuff happening in Lafayette. Like um there was a time a very long time ago when I was doing stuff, and it was really awesome for a while, and then sort of like some of the stuff that I mentioned before started happening, and everybody that I knew sort of graduated from Purdue and took off, and or like just people in general just leaving town, and you know, and bands fizzling out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there kind of wasn't anything for a pretty long time. Some friends were doing some shows, and I heard they were all right, but they were more like massive keggers with like bands playing than shows, I think. But you know, I don't know. It's awesome to hear that they're like
Yeah.
doing stuff over there.
Yeah. I think only like two of the five bands that played that night were like from Lafayette.
Yeah.
Um because Shed played there and I think they're from Valpo. Um I can't remember who else played, but I know Settling the Score was there and they're like real close by.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we drove an hour and a half to get there,
Did
but I think it was totally worth it.
did Whirlybirds play that one?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
They're also from Lafayette. They were really good.
Yeah, that's probably the show that they like when we played on the 20th, they asked me afterwards. They were like, "Could you play our release show in like a week or whatever?" And I was like, "Unfortunately, no. Like I can't arrange stuff like that short notice. Just I have like, you know, a lot going on." But yeah, I was just wondering, like, yeah, I bet that was that show, like, because they just dropped like an EP or something, right? So, um, yeah, they
Yeah.
were really cool. They were a good band. They were a lot of fun to watch, also. Yeah. So more or less, like, the band has been like you all have been at it for how many months? Like 6 months, 4 months, something like that. I'm just like grasping at straws on, you know, a
Um,
timeline.
I would say we've been kind of This is kind of hard to put down because
Because you're in
I'd
another
say
thing before, and so it's like all kinds of
it's all
ghosts.
kind of a blur at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, yeah.
I would say we've been going at it since like April,
Okay.
maybe March or April. So yeah, about 7 or 8 months, you know.
Hmm. And you had, once you got this group of songs together, then you're like, okay, like we got these enough that we're going to record them. What did you know about like recording anything before that? And how did you sort of like, how did you learn? And how did you like, hey, this is like what we need to do to make this happen?
So that mostly came from Nate, because like I said, he's all about music. He's been playing music and like he's had other side projects. He's been doing this since he was young, like really young.
Hmm.
So he kind of helped us out with that, like just instructing us. Him and Kenny, they were in this for longer than me, but they kind of they brought their interfaces and their laptops and we just recorded it in Nate's garage. Except for one of the songs was in Kenny's upstairs bedroom. That was very last minute, but it was pretty smooth. Um, but yeah, they knew how to mic everything up and how to track everything. So they kind of just showed me.
Hmm.
And I'd say even now, like if it were just up to me, I'd still struggle, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot to learn. So it's like, you know, I commend anyone who like gets there and just like, even if you personally are like, this doesn't sound great, like the fact that like people take the incentive and figure out their own ways to do this in all these different ways. Like, I this is episode like 275 of, by the time this comes out, and I've heard so many different ways where people are just like, oh, we did this and then we did that, and it's really awesome. Like, um I've I've d- I've done it. I've done things a lot of different ways by this point as well, and I'm still hearing like people be like, you know, we did this because this is all we had, and it like blows my mind. Just like how when you have like, we need to do this, like these songs are awesome, we need to record them, and the ingenuity that comes in where it's just like, we're gonna make this happen like that. That's I just find that super inspiring. Um,
Well,
but
yeah. And they still come out sounding awesome, you know?
yeah, it's. I mean, it's for sure like we live in like a golden age for doing this. Just because like, I mean, I've talked about this plenty, but it's like, when when I was young and my first band was recording, we had to find somebody that like had like a board and all this other stuff, and you had to pay them, and and now it's like I literally just like, I'm gonna record a cover song like this weekend, and it's just like not a big deal. Like, I would come down and I put the mics on the drums and I record the drums and then I record the guitars, and I'm like, you know it was a long way for me to get here, but it's like it never ceases to amaze me that like, yeah, this is a thing you can just do now, and it's awesome. Yeah. So what once you get like your songs and everybody's sort of like there on the same page, like, were you immediately like starting to play shows? Like, are there shows that happen like in or around like Hammond or whatever, where you were, like already like playing before you start like venturing out into Lafayette and wherever else?
Yeah, so there's one place in Hammond that I know of that does shows, Paul Henry's, and I really love that place. We still have yet to play there, but I'm feeling like this winter we might have a chance to. But our first show came about at it's a place in Gary or Lake Station called Joy Bomb, and they're really cool people. but we had some friends in like some metal bands that were playing a show there, and they were looking for a band to fill in, I believe, and they decided to invite us. And I was out, like I was not expecting it. Like we were still, we only had I think like 3 songs at the time, and they hit us up and they're like, "Yo, do you guys want to play a show? It's in like a month and a half." And I was like, I was out to eat, and then the group chat just starts blowing up, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I really wanted to, but I was like, we need to write more music like now. And I think we pushed out 2 more songs, and our set was only like 15 minutes, which even now it's like 20, 25 minutes. But they were like, that's fine, like it's your first show. And it was actually a pretty good show. Like I I forgot one of the songs for a minute. We had to restart, but it was the first show. Like I think I still had a blast playing it, and we sold a lot of merch.
Because
Um,
this was like literally your first show ever, right? Like if I'm just
yeah,
guessing, yeah.
this was my first time playing anything in front of a crowd, playing our music in front of a crowd. Like it was my first time on stage. I was very nervous. Like I was about to have a panic attack. But once we were there playing the music, it was like euphoria. Like
Hmm.
it was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It's funny, you were like we played 3 songs. We only played about 15 minutes because like my band has like literally like almost 250 songs, and we play like 6 songs and we play for like 15 minutes. Like it's like just like nah, that's good, we're good, nah, that's fine. um but yeah, I mean, there it is, like there are different places that it's like we want you to play for a half an hour, and and I'm like, we can play them twice, I guess. I don't but
Yeah.
but I mean, that's screamo, right? You just like you're just like, you want people to like get the experience and then sort of like not overstay your welcome, so that's where we sort of land on that usually. But yeah, that's really cool that like you sort of went like from just like, I'd like to be in a band, and then in a year or so you're playing your first show. What did you like, you were playing guitar already, and you talked about like a guitar class. Like were you having lessons like by like, or was that like a school thing? How did you like?
Yeah, we had a so my school had a performing arts academy, and it was like really good, but like it was like for music, but like it was like marching band. It was like a whole bunch of like acting and stuff like that. But I had gotten a guitar for Christmas because I was like, I need to play an instrument, like I don't want to just sit there and play video games. And then eventually I decided I seen this class, and it was just like it wasn't like a private teaching class or anything. It was just like a whole class of students, and then the teacher would just go up and like start you from scratch. He would teach everyone the same thing at once. But
Mhm.
like if like I was in that class with Nate, our drummer, and if you were in that class and you already were like where Nate's at, where he was already in a band, they would just go in the back room and practice their songs while we were like getting taught like basics. And even some of the stuff from that class I don't really remember. Like I'm still like very amateur at guitar. I don't know theory, and I don't know notes that well. I just know like what to play and what sounds good. So I kind of just do what sounds good, I guess, which is kind of humiliating, but I think it's really, as long as the people like it and I like it, I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, I don't um like I can see how, how sometimes we view like what we are capable of or what we can do as like Well, there are other people that are better at this than me, but I don't think like that's the thing about like punk and screamo to me is like there's no barrier to entry as far as like talent. Like there are people that like the drummer for fucking Full of Hell, right? You can watch the drummer for Full of Hell play drums and you could be like I don't ever want to fucking touch drumsticks again. Like that's
Yeah.
so fucking good and it's so crisp and it's so whatever. But then you can watch like another band where they have like a relatively shitty drummer and like no band comes to mind off, but we've seen those bands. They have a relatively shitty drummer, honestly, but like the band is so much fun to watch and they're loving every second of what they do. And so it's like it doesn't fucking matter, and that's like what's always spoke to me about the genre is that you can enjoy like such a range of like talent and you can fall anywhere on that line of talent and it still find a place like among people who are better than you, who are worse than you, by whatever metric you want to gauge that. But yeah, so it's like I have some friends that are so good at guitar that it is like it's ridiculous. But then I'm just like I'm good. I don't even I don't know like I don't know what you know you start talking to me about like ohms and impedance and you start talking to me about like G major or whatever. I have no idea what you're talking about. But like
Yeah,
I
same.
could listen to your song and I could play your song. Like so, I found like a a path for me that I'm content with, and I think that's all we can really like hope to do. Just like so. Yeah, some people their goal is like I want to shred, and like hey, you're getting there, And some people are just like I like to write songs that I like to hear, and that's me in a nutshell. You got a guitar and like is that still the guitar that you're still playing or did you have you gotten into like any kind of gear obsession or anything like that?
Yeah, so I had like a really big phase once I actually started playing music like with Kenny and that first band.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started on a 15-watt amp with I think it was a Van Gogh guitar. I ended
Okay.
up lending that to my buddy and I just ended up letting him keep it cuz I didn't play it. Um and my second ever guitar I bought was I was at a pawn shop and I seen I think it was like a Jackson King V, and at the time we were playing death metal, so I was like, this is perfect. This is what
Yeah.
I need.
Yeah.
And like nowadays, I couldn't say that. Some people could, but like I'm not really into that anymore. Also, that guitar just had like really bad neck dive, and it was like almost impossible for me to play as a beginner. So I didn't know how to handle it, and I ended up trading it for a PRS, which I think was a really good trade. I played that guitar for a long time, and after that, I was buying amps. I went and bought a Black Star 100 watt, and then I traded that for this Fender Champion that I have now for my bedroom, and then I ended up picking a half stack up for our practice space. It's like an old PV half stack, like a what is it? A PV double XL, and that amp is like what I mainly play.
Yeah.
Um, and then I picked up my first acoustic like ever and my only one. I feel like I don't know, like half a year ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think now I have four guitars total. Um, I don't have that PRS anymore. I ended up trading it, or no, I sold it, and then I got an SG because I feel like anyone who is into screamo has an SG, and I had to have one.
You
Um,
got the standard red or?
so mine is like it's an Epiphone SG.
Mm-hmm.
It's the standard red with like the wood grain on it. But it's like it's weird. Mine doesn't have a pick guard. Like it wasn't built for one. It's just the pickups and everything. Like I know most of them have like the black pick guard, but
Mm-hmm.
mine does not. It's just all red. But I like it. I got it for like $100
Yeah.
off some kid who never touched it. It was extremely out of tune, and I was like, dude, this is a steal. Because I was looking at ones for like 300, 400, and I'm like, oh my god. But that's basically I play that one at home. What I've been playing at shows recently is like an 80s Yamaha um SE 110. It's like a really heavy guitar and it only has the bridge pickup, but it's like really simple and I think it looks really nice. And I got it from like my local music store.
What's that?
Shout out Billy's.
What's that look like as far as like other guitar shapes?
It's a Strat.
Oh, okay, it's a Strat. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, does it sound like a Strat or does it sound like more comparable to something else?
Um, I would say it sounds like not really like a Strat, mainly because it's upgraded. It has the way I bought it, it has a what is it? It's got invaders in it.
Oh, okay.
I think is that Seymour Duncan invader or is that I can't remember. But it's got an invader pickup in it and it's like it handles gain really well, even though like a lot of the songs we play don't need like a lot of distortion. But like I think it sounds nice. It's not like too twangy or anything, even in clean. I wouldn't say it really sounds like a Strat.
Yeah.
It's got its own sound, I guess.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I ended up with a Strat in like a really weird way, and I used it on one of our albums, and I was like, this out, I want like I didn't use it on the album like by accident. I was like, yeah, I want like this is our third album. I wanted to stand out a little bit from the other ones, and so I used it. And afterward, I was like, well, you know, like I won't do that again, but I am glad I did it. It's like there are people that like I've heard like punk and hardcore bands like that use strats and and I couldn't have told that it was a strat, but when I listened to the ones that I recorded with the strat, there's more than one, just actually only one like full length. But I'm just like, yeah, I can 100% tell, and I think like um I thought I don't know, like that's what I wanted too, because like I said, I wanted it to sound different, but like also it's it's a it's a weird thing, right? Because sometimes you're like, I want to do this so it stands out, and then you're like, later might be like, I wish it didn't stand out that much. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, but it's
That's
I
kind
don't know.
of that's like sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just like I've talked before about how like you know people get like this sort of decision paralysis when it comes to their artwork sometimes, and it gets to the point where it's like people get to where they're not even releasing stuff. They're not even like letting their music out into the world because they're like, what if I do it wrong? And it's just like you got to be okay with doing it wrong and just like letting it out. you know, even if, and you got to be okay with taking a swing and later being like, okay, I learned from that. Like, I don't regret it. Like, I still think that's a good album. I listen to it every once in a while to like, you know, when I'm like making a set list or something and I'm like, which one of these should we play? You know, like, um, but, yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, you gotta make a decision and you gotta stand by it. So, you know,
There's no wrong answers, you
yeah,
know.
not
Like
really. The worst case, I mean, I won't do this personally for this project. I have done it before and maybe I would do it in other projects, but worst case, like just record the songs again, you know? Like just give it another go, you know?
literally.
Yeah. So you said that, you know, Jack came along and you said that you all have been writing songs more or less together now. Like, is that where you've been spending like most of your focus, like to get like, you know, once the demo was out, now you're like, let's write some songs together, like so we can do this again, and you know, is that like where you're at, or are you just mostly like, let's go and play?
So we're very in between with that because like after our first like three shows, we were like, all right, we need to focus on writing music now. And
Mm-hmm.
then um it's like I said, it's hard to get Jack to practice because he doesn't have a car and he's got all this other stuff going on and he lives like a half hour away from all of us other band members. So like there was like a dry spell kinda the past month or so where he would show up to practice every like 2 weeks and we practiced like twice a week. So by the time he showed up again, had written another song and he had to sit it out for this last show because we didn't have enough time to teach him it. But um like we haven't really gotten to write a full song with him with like two different guitars playing and stuff, you know. Like our
Mm-hmm.
past two songs that we've written are written with one guitar and they can be played with two guitars and sound great and even more full, but they were written with one guitar. So like right now I feel like we have so like with that dry spell we had planned to write music, wasn't really going that well, and then we got invited to that show in West Lafayette and a couple more shows that are coming up. But we were like, yeah, let's just do it. So we played this most recent show and we practiced for that. We didn't really keep writing new music. Um, and we have this uncompleted song we're finishing up. We played it at the new show, but we still need to practice it. But like after that show, I think we have a couple more. We have one in October, but the venue hasn't really been contacting us, so we don't know how that's gonna go. And then we should have one in November, two in November. We're gonna be going down to Fort Wayne for one of them, which is gonna be fun. But um, we're very in between. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on, but like mainly when we're practicing, we try and write. But once we have like we can't really choose to focus on just shows because we don't get invited enough to just focus on playing shows. Cause so when we get invited to a show, we usually try and play it. And then once we get invited and we have a show planned like the next week or two, that's when we'll just practice for the show and not really focus on writing. But other than that, we usually try to focus on writing new stuff because we only have like 5 songs so far. And we want to try to put out an album by like the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
Yeah, I mean, you only got a couple months, and
Yeah,
before the end of.
right.
I have an album that's like 50% completed, and I'm like, oh, gee, I don't know. Maybe I'll finish it. Maybe I won't. It's just like, uh, yeah, like you said, so much stuff gets to happening in your life, and it's like, you know, well, if this was literally all I had to do was finish this album, then like, yeah, it'd be, you know, it'd be no problem, it'd be cake. But unfortunately, you know, lots of other things happen in the world as well. And but no, that sounds awesome though. Like, But do you all like do you all ever like just record your practice and then send it to Jack and say, "Hey, this is the new song," or is it just like um it's like people need to more or less like be in the room and working on these things together.
So I feel like it's best if we come up with a song and then so most recent song we wrote was the first one we wrote with him in the band,
Hmm.
even though we didn't write it with him because when he joined the band, we already had these other six songs. Because yeah, we have seven songs now,
Okay.
but these first six songs we wrote without him, and then we spent like a couple weeks postponing writing just to like get him to learn them, and
Hmm.
then we just waited till he showed up to practice. The first time we ever had him show up to practice, we had like sat down and showed him how to play a few songs, and then the next practice we showed him the next few songs, and he would go home and practice them, but then like he'd come back and he'd be doing something a little different, so we'd have to go over it and show him how to do it the right way. But I think he's pretty much got him down now, but except for that new one I still have to show him. But like yeah, we kind of just show him in person, then he'll go home and practice because he shows up like I'd say since we've had him in, it'd be like once a week maybe. But yeah, he practices them at home mainly because we don't really get too much time in person with him.
You said he lives like a couple hours away or something like that.
He lives like from me, he lives like almost an hour away,
Oh,
like
okay.
on the other side of Indiana, like Chesterton.
Oh yeah, Chesterton. Oh wow. um yeah, that's I'm just trying to like I don't really, I've been to Chesterton. I don't know that I've ever been to Hammond specifically. Probably driven through it a bunch, but um, yeah, I don't know. It's like I said. It's like we live in a pretty awesome time where you could just, you could just be like FaceTiming and like, hey, check out this new song and whatever. But at the same time, like that's not a thing that works for everybody. So it's just like you have to find the way that works for you. It sounds like you all are on your way to that for sure, which is great. Um, yeah. Uh, so you said like your show's coming up. You're still sort of like tentative on them. But like you said you're going to be going down to Fort Wayne. Um, have you been to shows in Fort Wayne at all, like lately? I hear it's like really awesome.
I've never been out there.
Oh, okay.
I think Kenny's gone out there for a show like once or twice. He has like some friends out there, I think. But yeah, I've never been out there in my life. I don't know if Nate has. I think Jack might have for Antler. But yeah, I've never been out there. I'm looking forward to it though. Just the drive. I think it's gonna be like a 3 hour drive.
Yeah, wow. It's I used to play there a lot a long time ago, and it was always fun. And then yeah, the people that I knew that lived there moved. They moved. Some of them moved to California. Some of them moved to New York, and and uh, and then I didn't play there for a long time. I played there once. I don't know. It must be like close to 9 years ago now, and it was awesome then too. But I hear things are really cool there again. Um, I don't know. I would like to get asked to play more random shows around Indiana, but it's like usually it's just like the only reason we could play this last show was because it was like 4 minutes from my house because my car was all messed up. So we got asked to play another show in Bloomington, and I was like, we can't do it. My car's all messed up, but we can play 5 minutes from my house because if anything happens between my house and there, it's not that big a deal. um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, like I also like it. It's It's probably real far for y'all, but I definitely recommend like trying to hit up some people in Bloomington about a show down there when y'all are ready to do that, because it's always been really awesome down there as well. But yeah, I guess like I I really, like I said before we started recording, I was really excited to chat with you because I'm always excited to see like more screamo bands popping up in Indiana, especially from like smaller areas or whatever. It's like yeah, it's the age of the internet where anybody anywhere can listen to anything at any time, but I'm always like, how did you start a screamo band in Hammond? Like like that's a great story for, as far as I'm concerned. And like so I was excited to chat with you and hear all that. But then your next plans are write an LP and play out more. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about before we sort of like wrap up and tell people like where they can get in touch with you and stuff like that?
I guess I kind of just want to talk about like how I think it's really cool that the scene is kind of blowing up down here, or up here, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, I'm not sure if Antler is going to be still doing anything, but they kind of inspired us a lot. There's Alia, which is from like Northwest Indiana. There's Inward Heel, they're from Bloomington, but they're also really good.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I can only name like I can only count on one hand how many like screamo bands there are in Indiana that I've actually like heard of. And I think it's really cool because like a year ago, 2 years ago, I couldn't think of any. And like I think the scene is just really starting to bloom. And I bet like not even a year from now there will be even more. And I really look forward to that. And
Yeah.
just having more people to invite to shows and play with and meet new people. And I just think it's really cool. Like there's this new band, Edward Abbey. We met their singer from their other band at this past show, and they were really into us, and they were like, yeah, we'll invite you to more shows, like I really look forward to that. But like I said, like the scene is just really starting to take off again, and I
Yeah.
really think that's like amazing.
Mm-hmm. I do have to say that my band has been going since 2010, so there has been screamo in Indiana for I I've pretty much always had a band going with the exception of like a year or two since for a long time. But like yeah, there's like other bands from Indiana, off the top of my head. There's Stars Fading Out Quietly. There's True Respite. Um, see, I I'm actually blanking now because I'm like, is that band from Indiana or are they from like Michigan or something? But yeah, no, it's
I've heard of Stars Fading Out Quietly.
yeah,
I've heard of them. They're
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. And
And then the Tear Garden Collective, are they from Indiana, do you know?
oh, I'm not sure.
I think they're I think they're disbanding though.
Yeah, um, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm forgetting a lot because I'm always seeing, oh, this is a band from Indiana, and I'm always like, damn, like more, but like, we talked about
Yeah, they're
Whirlybirds,
definitely
like
coming out.
they probably wouldn't categorize themselves as screamo, but like, I mean, they're screamo, they're screamo
They're
adjacent,
definitely screaming, yeah.
yeah, good stuff, but yeah, like, um, thanks for chatting with me. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, but why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you if they do want you to like want to offer y'all a show or whatever?
You can contact us mainly Instagram. It's at such sightings, no caps, no scores. Um, we also have an email. It's such sightings nwi at gmail.com. Hit us up for shows or literally anything else if you want to get merch from us, if you have any ideas for us, or if you just want to say hi. We're always down to just talk. Like we're very close people. Um, but yeah, thanks for having us on here. And then, always hit us up for anything, literally. Like, we're so down.
And that was my conversation with Nick Camarillo. Thank you so much, Nick, for taking the time to chat with me. Thanks to all of y'all for listening wherever you are as well. Screamo is alive and well in Indiana, and I guess in some other places too. Until next time, take care and do good things.